For a better experience, please use headphones. Today, we'll explore the fear of heights, or acrophobia, and how it can lead to a descent into madness. Do you fear heights? Most mortals do, but for some, it's a terror that consumes them. Today, we'll follow William's journey into the abyss as he confronts his own acrophobia. If you dare to look down and stare at the abyss, then watch on and witness the true meaning of terror. But remember, once you start watching, you may never be able to look away. This is the true horror of acrophobia and how it can drive a person to the brink of insanity. The horror of acrophobia. William's descent into insanity. As I stood at the top of the building staring out at the city below, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled into the pit of my stomach. Acrophobia, the fear of heights, had always been a weakness of mine, but I had always managed to keep it in check. Until now. The wind whipped through my hair, tugging at my clothes as I tried to take a step back from the edge. My heart raced in my chest, and my palms were slick with sweat. I could feel the dizzying heights beneath my feet, threatening to pull me down into the void. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. I had agreed to this challenge after all, a dare from my friends to face my fears and prove that I wasn't as weak as I thought. But as I inched closer to the edge, the panic only grew. My vision began to swim, and my legs shook beneath me. I knew I couldn't go on. I had to turn back. I turned to retreat, but as I did, I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was one of my friends, a smug grin on his face. "Come on, don't be a wuss," he taunted. "You can do this." His words only served to fuel my fear. I tried to pull away, but his grip only tightened. "You can't back down now," he said. "We're all counting on you." I looked around at the other faces, all of them eager to see me fail. I couldn't let them win. I had to find the strength to go on. I gritted my teeth and took a step forward, one foot in front of the other. I forced myself to keep moving. My friends cheered and jeered, egging me on as I approached the edge. As I reached the brink, I could feel my stomach lurch. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. But it was no use. The fear was too great. I felt a shove from behind, and suddenly, I was falling. The wind rushed past me as I plummeted toward the ground. I screamed, tears streaming down my face as I prayed for some sort of miracle. But there was none. The ground raced up to meet me, and I knew at that moment that it was all over. Or so I thought. I was still standing at the top of the building when I opened my eyes. My friends were all staring at me, shock and confusion written on their faces. "What the hell was that?" one of them asked. I shook my head, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Had it all been some sort of hallucination? A nightmare brought on by my fear of heights? But as the minutes ticked by, it became clear that something more sinister was at play. I began to see things out of the corner of my eyes, figures standing on the edge of the building, staring out at the city. But when I turned to look, they were gone. I tried to dismiss it as my imagination, but the visions grew more frequent and disturbing. Each time I saw one of these figures, it seemed to be getting closer and closer to me, as if it was trying to lure me to the edge. I knew I had to get out of there. I begged my friends to leave, but they only laughed at my fear. They didn't believe me, didn't see the terror that was consuming me. I was alone. As the days went on, the visions only grew more intense. I was plagued by nightmares of falling, of being lured to the edge of the building by faceless figures. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of being pursued. I tried to tell my friends and make them see what was happening, but they only laughed and dismissed my fears as the ramblings of a madman. But I knew the truth. Something evil was lurking in the shadows, a thing that wanted to drag me down into the depths of madness. I could feel it closing in on me, suffocating me with its presence. I was trapped, alone in a world that seemed to be slipping away. I knew I had to find a way to break free. I had to confront my fear, to stare it in the face and defeat it. So I returned to the top of the building, alone this time. I stood at the edge, looking out at the city below. The wind whipped through my hair, and the ground seemed impossibly far away. And then, something strange happened. Standing at the edge of the building, I felt a sudden surge of courage. It was as if something had taken hold of me, urging me forward. I stepped off the edge. As I fell, I could feel the terror coursing through my veins. But there was something else there as well. That thing that seemed to be driving me on. I tried to fight it, tried to resist the strange force that had taken hold of me. But it was no use. I was powerless against it. I fell faster and faster, the ground rushing up to meet me. And as I did, I saw the faceless figures gathering at the top of the building. They were watching me, their empty eyes fixed on my descent. I knew at that moment that I was not falling toward freedom. I was falling towards something much worse. I hit the ground with a thud, and everything went black. When I woke up, I was back at the top of the building. The faceless figures were still there, watching me with their empty gaze. I knew then that something wanted to see me suffer. I tried to run, tried to escape the figures that lurked in the shadows, but it was no use. The faceless figures were always there, taunting me, tempting me to the edge. I was doomed to spend the rest of my days in this hellish prison, my acrophobia a never-ending torment. As I fell, I knew that I would never escape the grasp of these malevolent beings. They were determined to drag me down into the depths of madness, forcing me to relive my fear of heights again and again. I knew I would be trapped in this never-ending cycle of terror until my last day. Thank you for braving the real horrors of acrophobia with us. This is one of the most common existing phobias. Almost 10% of the population suffers from this condition, and we wanted you to experience their agony firsthand. If you're still shaking in your boots and can't wait for more terrifying tales, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Trust us, you don't want to miss out on what we have in store for you next. And if you're feeling brave enough, give that like button a tap as well. We can't wait to bring you more nightmares and send chills down your spine. Subscribe now and let the terror continue. And as always, we'll see you then.